The alarm clock screamed at 6 in the morning, just like every other day. David rolled over and stared at the ceiling of his enormous bedroom. The chandelier above him cost more than most people's cars, but it felt cold and lifeless. 3 years ago, this same room had been filled with laughter and warmth. Now it felt like a museum. Down the hall, his 4-year-old daughter Mia was probably already awake. She always woke up early, just like her mother used to. David dragged himself out of bed and walked to her room. He found her sitting on the floor, talking quietly to her stuffed elephant. "Good morning, princess," he said softly. Mia looked up, with those big brown eyes that reminded him so much of Anna. "Daddy, when is Mommy coming back from her trip?" David's heart broke a little more. The doctors had explained that young children sometimes create stories to cope with loss. Mia had convinced herself that her mother was just away on a long trip. Every morning brought the same question, and every morning David struggled to find the right words. "Remember what we talked about, sweetheart? Mommy went to heaven. She's watching over us, but she can't come back." Mia's face fell, and she went back to whispering to her elephant. David wished he knew what to say to make it better. He had built a technology company from nothing, solved impossible problems, and made decisions that affected thousands of people. But comforting his own daughter felt harder than anything he'd ever done. The nanny arrived at 7:30. Rebecca was the 4th one they'd tried this year. She was kind and experienced, but Mia barely acknowledged her presence. David grabbed his coffee and headed to the office, leaving his daughter with yet another stranger. At work, David tried to focus on the quarterly report spread across his desk. His company had just landed a major contract with the government. The numbers looked amazing on paper. His business partners were thrilled. But all David could think about was the way Mia had looked at him that morning, lost and confused. His assistant knocked on the door. "The board meeting is in 10 minutes. David nodded and straightened his tie. In the boardroom, he put on his game face. He talked about growth projections and market expansion. He shook hands and smiled at all the right moments, but inside he felt like he was drowning. After the meeting, his phone buzzed with a text from Rebecca. "Mia hasn't eaten her lunch. She's been crying for the past hour. Should I call the doctor?" David's stomach dropped. He told his assistant to cancel his afternoon appointments and rushed home. He found Mia curled up in her bedroom closet, clutching a picture of Anna. "Hey, baby girl, what's wrong?" Mia looked up with tear-stained cheeks. "I miss Mommy. Why can't I remember what her voice sounds like anymore?" David felt like someone had punched him in the chest. He pulled out his phone and played one of the videos he'd saved. Anna's voice filled the small closet as she sang Mia's favorite lullaby. They sat together in the dark, listening to the ghost of a woman who would never sing again. That evening, David called Dr. Peterson, the child psychologist who had been helping them. "She's getting worse," David admitted. "She barely talks to anyone except me, and even then it's just to ask about Anna. The nannies don't last because she won't connect with them. I don't know what to do anymore." Dr. Peterson's voice was gentle, but honest. "Children Mia's age need stability and nurturing relationships. She's lost her primary attachment figure, and she's afraid to bond with anyone new because she's scared they'll leave too. Have you considered that she might benefit from having positive female role models in her life?" "I've tried. The nannies, my sister, Anna's mother, but Mia just shuts down around everyone. It might take time to find the right person, someone who doesn't feel like a replacement, but rather a new kind of support. And David, you need to take care of yourself too. You can't pour from an empty cup." After hanging up, David stood in his kitchen looking out at the backyard where Anna used to push Mia on the swing set. The yard was perfectly maintained by a landscaping company, but no one used it anymore. Everything in their life had become like that, expensive and perfect, but empty. The next few weeks blurred together. David hired a new nanny, but she quit after Mia refused to speak to her for 5 straight days. His mother offered to move in and help, but she lived across the country and had her own health issues to deal with. His sister tried to visit more often, but she had 3 kids of her own and lived 2 hours away. At night, after Mia fell asleep, David would sit in his home office and stare at his computer screen. He had everything money could buy, but he couldn't buy the one thing his daughter needed most: her mother back. He couldn't buy away the pain in her eyes or the way she flinched when strangers tried to hug her. The worst part was watching Mia retreat more and more into herself. She used to be such a chatty, happy child. Anna always joked that Mia never stopped talking. Now, days would go by where she barely said 10 words. She'd stopped playing with most of her toys. She didn't want to go to the park or see other children. Her world had shrunk down to just her room, her stuffed animals, and the fading memories of her mother. David tried everything he could think of. He bought her new toys, took time off work to spend with her, even arranged for therapy sessions with a specialist who worked with grieving children. But nothing seemed to break through the wall Mia had built around herself. One particularly difficult evening, after Mia had refused to eat dinner and cried herself to sleep, David sat alone in the living room. The house felt enormous and eerily quiet. He looked at the family photos on the mantel, pictures of happier times when Anna was alive and their little family felt complete. He picked up his phone and scrolled through his contacts. He had hundreds of numbers: business partners, employees, investors, celebrities he'd met at charity events. But when it came to finding someone who could help his daughter heal, he felt completely alone. Money had always been his solution to problems. Need better technology? Buy it. Want to expand the business? Invest in it. But grief wasn't something you could purchase your way out of. David realized he was failing at the most important job he'd ever had: being Mia's father. He had all the resources in the world, but he couldn't figure out how to help his own child. The weight of that failure pressed down on him as he sat in his expensive, empty house, wondering if things would ever get better. Tomorrow would bring another day of the same routine. Nannies who couldn't connect with Mia, business meetings that felt meaningless, and the growing distance between him and his daughter. He needed to find a way to bring light back into Mia's world, but he had no idea where to start looking. 2 weeks had passed since the latest nanny quit. David sat at his kitchen table, staring at his laptop screen filled with resumes from yet another staffing agency. Each profile looked perfect on paper, but he'd learned that credentials meant nothing if Mia wouldn't even look at them. "Daddy, I'm hungry," Mia said quietly, appearing in the doorway wearing her pajamas even though it was already noon. David closed the laptop and looked at his daughter. Her hair was messy, and she was holding her stuffed elephant like always. They'd been living off cereal and sandwiches for days because he couldn't cook, and she wouldn't eat anything the housekeeper prepared. "What do you want to eat, princess?" Mia shrugged and climbed onto his lap. "I don't know, something yummy." An idea struck him. Maybe they both needed to get out of the house for a while. "How about we go somewhere special for lunch? Just me and you." For the first time in days, Mia's eyes showed a spark of interest. Like where? David thought about the fancy restaurants he usually went to for business meetings. None of them seemed right for a 4-year-old. Then he remembered driving past a small diner on the other side of town. It looked like the kind of place families went to, the kind of place Anna might have taken Mia. "It's a surprise. Go get dressed, and we'll find out together." 20 minutes. Later, they were driving through a part of the city David rarely visited. The buildings were older here, and the streets were lined with small shops and family-owned businesses. It felt more real somehow, less polished than the world he usually moved in. The diner sat on a corner with a big sign that read Rosie's Family Restaurant. The parking lot was full of regular cars, not the luxury vehicles David was used to seeing. He felt a moment of uncertainty. What if this was a mistake? What if Mia didn't like it? But when they walked through the door, something felt different. The place was warm and cozy, with red vinyl booths and pictures of local families on the walls. The smell of home-cooked food filled the air. Other families were laughing and talking together. It was exactly the opposite of the cold, quiet house they'd left behind. A young woman with kind eyes and a bright smile approached them. She had dark hair pulled back in a ponytail and wore a simple uniform with a name tag that read, Luna. "Hi there. Table for two?" she asked cheerfully. David nodded, suddenly feeling out of place in his expensive suit, but Luna didn't seem to notice or care. She led them to a booth by the window and handed them menus. "And what's your name, sweetie?" Luna asked, crouching down to Mia's level. Mia hid behind her elephant but peeked out with curious eyes. "Mia," she whispered. "What a beautiful name. I love your elephant. Does he have a name too?" "Oliver," Mia said, a little louder this time. "Oliver is very handsome. I bet he's hungry too. Should we find something delicious for both of you?" David watched in amazement as his daughter actually responded to a stranger. Luna had a natural way with children that felt genuine, not forced, like some of the nannies who had tried too hard. Luna opened Mia's menu and pointed to the pictures. "We have pancakes shaped like Mickey Mouse and grilled cheese cut into fun shapes. What sounds good to Oliver?" Mia giggled, for the first time in weeks. "Oliver likes pancakes. Oliver has excellent taste. And what about you, Dad? First time at Rosie's?" "Yes, we were just driving around and saw your sign. It looked friendly." Luna smiled. "That's what we're going for. Rosie always says this place should feel like coming to your grandmother's house for Sunday dinner. I'll give you a few minutes to look over the menu." As Luna walked away, David noticed how she stopped at other tables, remembering customers' names and asking about their families. She seemed to genuinely care about everyone. "Who came in?" "Daddy, I like her," Mia said quietly. "She seems very nice," David agreed, surprised by how much lighter he felt in this simple little restaurant. When Luna came back to take their order, Mia had come out of her shell even more. She showed Luna her favorite page in the coloring book that came with the kids' menu and explained that Oliver was scared of loud noises but loved soft music. "Well, we'll make sure to keep things nice and quiet for Oliver," Luna said seriously, as if protecting a stuffed elephant's feelings was the most important thing in the world. While they waited for their food, Luna brought Mia some crayons and sat with them for a moment during a quiet spell. "So what do you like to draw, Mia?" "Butterflies," Mia said, carefully coloring inside the lines. "Mommy used to draw butterflies with me." David tensed, waiting for the sadness to take over like it usually did when Mia mentioned Anna. But Luna just nodded thoughtfully. "Butterflies are magical. My grandmother used to tell me that butterflies carry messages from people who love us. Every time you see one, it's like getting a hug from far away." Mia looked up with wide eyes. "Really?" "Really. And you know what? I think your butterflies are some of the most beautiful I've ever seen." When their food arrived, Mia actually ate without being asked. The Mickey Mouse pancakes were perfectly golden, and Luna had drawn a smiley face with whipped cream. David found himself relaxing for the first time in months, just watching his daughter be a normal, happy kid. Other families around them were having normal conversations about school and weekend plans. Kids were laughing and making messes. Parents were helping with homework and wiping sticky fingers. It was the kind of ordinary family life that David had forgotten existed. "Miss Luna," Mia called out when she saw their waitress passing by. "Yes, sweetie? Can you draw a butterfly too?" Luna grabbed a crayon and quickly sketched a butterfly on Mia's placemat. "There you go, a special butterfly just for you." Mia beamed and carefully tore off that section of the placemat. "I'm going to keep it forever." As they finished eating, David realized he hadn't checked his phone once during the entire meal. Usually he was constantly responding to emails or taking calls. But here, with Mia actually talking and smiling, nothing else seemed important. When it was time to leave, Mia didn't want to go. She hugged Luna goodbye, which shocked David since she hadn't hugged anyone except him in months. "Thank you for taking such good care of Oliver," Luna said seriously. "You're a wonderful elephant mom." In the car, Mia chattered the whole way home about the restaurant, the butterfly drawing, and how nice Luna was. She wanted to know if they could go back soon, if Luna would remember them, and if Oliver could order his own pancakes next time. That night, Mia fell asleep easily for the first time in weeks. She clutched Luna's butterfly drawing along with her elephant. David stood in her doorway, watching her peaceful face, and felt something he'd almost forgotten: hope. For the first time since Anna died, his daughter had connected with someone new. Maybe, just maybe, there was a way forward that he hadn't seen before. David found himself thinking about the diner more than he cared to admit. Over the next 2 weeks, Mia asked about going back almost every day. She'd wake up and immediately want to know if they could visit Luna and show her the new butterfly drawings she'd made. The butterfly picture from their first visit was now taped to her bedroom wall, right next to a photo of her mother. "Daddy, can we go see Luna today?" Mia asked over breakfast, her spoon halfway to her mouth with cereal. David looked at his daughter's hopeful face. She'd been eating better since their visit to Rosie's, sleeping through the night, and even played with her toys for the first time in months. The change was remarkable, and he knew Luna had something to do with it. "After I finish some work calls, okay, princess?" Mia clapped her hands excitedly and went back to eating, humming a little tune her mother used to sing. David's heart squeezed at the sound. But this time it wasn't just sadness. There was something lighter there too. 2 hours later, they were walking through the diner's front door again. The familiar warmth hit them immediately, along with the smell of fresh coffee and home-cooked meals. David realized he'd been looking forward to this almost as much as Mia had. Luna spotted them right away and waved from across the room. "Well, if it isn't my favorite butterfly artist." Mia practically bounced to their usual booth by the window. David noticed that Luna had remembered where they sat before, and there was already a kids' menu and crayons waiting. "I brought something for you," Mia announced, digging into her small backpack. She pulled out a carefully folded piece of paper and handed it to Luna. When Luna unfolded it, her face lit up with genuine delight. Mia had drawn a whole garden of butterflies in different colors, with "For Miss Luna" written in wobbly 4-year-old handwriting at the top. "Mia, this is absolutely beautiful. Look at all these different butterflies. Did you know that each color means something special?" Mia shook her head, leaning forward with interest. "Well, purple butterflies mean magic, yellow ones bring happiness, and pink ones carry love. You've made a whole garden of wonderful feelings." David watched his daughter glow with pride. Luna had a gift for making children feel special without being fake about it. She genuinely seemed to enjoy talking with Mia, asking about her drawings and remembering details from their last conversation. As they ordered their lunch, David noticed how comfortable Mia had become. She was sitting up straighter, making eye contact, and even asking Luna questions about the other pictures on the walls. "That's Mrs. Peterson and her family," Luna explained, pointing to one of the photos. "She comes in every Sunday after church with her grandchildren. And that's the Martinez family. They celebrated their son's graduation here last month." "Do you know everyone?" Mia asked, amazed. "Not everyone, but a lot of people. That's what makes this place special. We're like one big family here." The word family made David's chest tighten. It had been just him and Mia for so long, he'd almost forgotten what it felt like to be part of something bigger. Their food arrived, and Luna lingered to chat during a slow period. She told them about her own life, how she was studying to become a nurse, how she had a 6-year-old son named Carlos, who loved to draw just like Mia. David found himself genuinely interested in her stories, not just because they made Mia happy, but because Luna herself was fascinating. She worked 2 jobs, went to school at night, and still had energy to make every customer feel like they mattered. "Maybe Carlos and Mia could meet sometime," Luna suggested. "He's always looking for someone to trade drawings with." Mia's eyes widened with excitement. "Does he like butterflies too?" "He loves butterflies, and dinosaurs and spaceships and basically anything you can draw." As they finished eating, the lunch rush began to pick up. Luna had to attend to other tables, but she kept checking on them, bringing Mia extra crayons and asking about her artwork. David was watching Luna serve a family with 3 young children when it happened. Mia had been coloring quietly, humming that same tune from breakfast. Suddenly, she looked up from her drawing and watched Luna helping the other kids choose what to drink. Something shifted in Mia's expression. David saw recognition there, a longing he'd seen before but never quite understood. Luna was wiping a spilled juice box, laughing with the children, and gently reminding them to use their inside voices. She moved with the easy confidence of someone who understood children completely. Then, without any warning, Mia stood up on the booth seat, Her small voice carried across the busy restaurant as she pointed directly at Luna. "Daddy, that's my new mommy." The entire diner fell silent. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Forks paused halfway to mouths. Every person in the restaurant turned to stare at their booth. David felt his face burn with embarrassment as he realized what had just happened. Luna froze in the middle of cleaning the other table, her cloth still in her hand. Her cheeks turned bright red as she looked from Mia to David and back again. The family she'd been helping looked confused and curious. "Mia, honey, sit down," David whispered urgently, trying to pull his daughter back into the booth. But Mia wasn't finished. Her voice got even louder, filled with the absolute certainty that only a 4-year-old could have. "She makes me happy like Mommy did. She's nice and she likes my drawings and she makes the butterflies special." David's heart was pounding so hard, he thought everyone could hear it. He wanted to disappear, to melt into the vinyl seat and never face this moment. Luna looked mortified, clearly having no idea how to handle a child declaring her to be their new mother in front of a room full of strangers. An elderly woman at a nearby table smiled knowingly and whispered something to her husband. A teenage couple looked amused, but most people just stared, unsure whether they were witnessing something sweet or something awkward. Luna finally found her voice and walked over to their booth. She knelt down so she was at Mia's eye level, her face gentle but serious. "Mia, sweetheart, that's very kind of you to say. I think you're wonderful too. But I'm just your friend, okay? I can't be your mommy." Mia's face crumpled with confusion and disappointment. "But why not? You're perfect. You like butterflies and you're nice to Oliver and you make the pancakes have happy faces." David felt tears sting his eyes. His daughter's innocent logic was heartbreaking. In her mind, if someone was kind and made her happy, why couldn't they just become her mother? The simplicity of childhood made the complicated reality even more painful. "I know you miss your mommy very much," Luna said softly. "And I'm sure she was the most wonderful mommy in the whole world. But I can still be your friend and we can still draw butterflies together, okay?" Mia started to cry. Not the angry tantrum kind of crying, but the deep, soul-crushing sobs of a child who had hoped for something impossible. David quickly threw money on the table and scooped up his daughter. "I'm so sorry," he managed to say to Luna before rushing toward the exit. The last thing he saw was Luna standing there, looking shaken and sad, with Mia's butterfly drawing still clutched in her hand. Outside in the parking lot, Mia cried against his shoulder while other customers stared at them through the windows. David felt like he'd failed again, bringing his daughter's pain into someone else's peaceful world. 3 days passed and David couldn't get the scene at the diner out of his head. Mia had been quiet since that afternoon, not her usual withdrawn silence, but a disappointed sadness that somehow felt worse. She kept asking why Luna didn't want to be her mommy, and David struggled to explain something he didn't fully understand himself. "Maybe we upset her, Daddy," Mia said while picking at her dinner. "Maybe she doesn't like us anymore." "No, sweetheart, you didn't do anything wrong. Luna just—" David paused, trying to find the right words. Sometimes grown-ups need time to think about things. But David knew it was more complicated than that. He'd seen the shock in Luna's eyes, the way she'd gone pale when Mia made her announcement. He'd probably scared her away with his daughter's innocent declaration. What single woman in her 20s would want to deal with a grieving child and her billionaire father's complicated life? Still, he couldn't stop thinking about Luna's kindness, the way she'd knelt down to Mia's level and spoken so gently, even in that embarrassing moment. Most people would have been angry or uncomfortable, but Luna had been worried about Mia's feelings. On Thursday evening, David made a decision that surprised even him. After putting Mia to bed, he drove back to the diner. It was almost closing time, and the parking lot was nearly empty. Through the windows, he could see Luna wiping down tables and stacking chairs. He sat in his car for 10 minutes, trying to figure out what to say. "Sorry my daughter declared you her new mother in front of everyone. Sorry we've probably made your job awkward. Sorry for existing." Finally, he took a deep breath and walked inside. Luna looked up when the bell chimed, and her expression shifted, from surprise to something he couldn't quite read. "We're actually closed," she said quietly. "But I can make you some coffee if you need to talk." David nodded, suddenly feeling like a teenager asking someone to prom. I wanted to apologize for what happened the other day. I know it must have been embarrassing. Luna poured 2 cups of coffee and sat across from him in the booth where he and Mia usually sat. You don't need to apologize. Mia's just a little girl dealing with something no child should have to face. She's been asking about you, wondering if she made you angry. Luna's expression softened. Oh no. Please tell her. She didn't make me angry at all. I was just surprised and worried about her. They sat in silence for a moment, the empty diner feeling strange and intimate around them. David found himself really looking at Luna for the first time. She looked tired, but there was something peaceful about her too. Her hair was coming loose from her ponytail, and she had a small coffee stain on her uniform, but she was beautiful in a real, unguarded way. Can I ask you something? Luna said. What happened to Mia's mother? You don't have to answer if it's too personal. David had told this story dozens of times to lawyers, doctors, and therapists, but somehow telling Luna felt different. Car accident. 3 years ago, Anna was coming home from her book club and a drunk driver ran a red light. He paused, his coffee growing cold between his hands. Mia was only 18 months old when it happened. She barely remembers Anna, which somehow makes it worse. I'm so sorry, Luna said, and David could tell she meant it. That's why she's looking for a mother figure. She needs that connection. The doctors say the same thing, but every nanny we've tried, every attempt to bring women into her life, nothing works. Until you. Luna looked down at her hands. I lost my mom when I was 7. Not the same way, but I understand that emptiness Mia feels, that desperate need to find someone to fill that space. What happened to your mom? Cancer. It was a long fight, and then suddenly it wasn't. My dad tried his best, but he was working 2 jobs just to keep us afloat. I spent a lot of time looking for mother figures too. She smiled sadly. I found them in teachers, neighbors, even strangers sometimes. Anyone who showed me kindness. David felt something shift in his chest. Is that why you're so good with Mia, because you understand? Maybe. Or maybe I just see myself in her. That little girl who wants so badly to feel safe and loved again. They talked for another hour, sharing stories about their children, their struggles, their hopes. David learned that Luna worked at the diner during the day and studied nursing at night. Her son Carlos lived with her mother during the week so Luna could work and she saw him on weekends. It was a hard life, but she spoke about it without self-pity. Why nursing? David asked. Because I want to help people heal. I've seen what it's like when someone is broken and scared, and I want to be the person who makes it better. David thought about his own life, how he'd used money and success to solve problems, but never really helped anyone heal. Mia lights up around you in a way I haven't seen since Anna died. You have a gift. Luna blushed slightly. She's a special little girl. And you're a good father, David. I can see how much you love her. I don't feel like a good father most days. I feel like I'm failing her constantly. Love isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up even when you don't know what you're doing. You show up for Mia every day. When David finally left the diner that night, something had changed. Luna had given him her phone number and suggested that maybe, if he was comfortable with it, Mia could meet Carlos. Just as friends, she'd said. 2 kids who both need more people in their world. Driving home, David felt lighter than he had in months. It wasn't romantic feelings, not yet anyway, though he couldn't deny that Luna interested him. It was something deeper than that. For the first time since Anna died, he felt like he'd found someone who understood what they were going through. Someone who saw Mia's pain and wanted to help heal it. Not because she was paid to, but because she genuinely cared. Someone who didn't judge David for his mistakes or make him feel like a failure as a father. The next morning, when Mia asked about Luna again, David had a different answer. Actually, Princess, I talked to Luna last night. She wants you to know that she's not angry with you at all, and she has a little boy named Carlos who loves to draw just like you. Maybe we could all have a playdate sometime. Mia's face lit up brighter than David had seen in 3 years. Really? She still likes
Me? She likes you very much, and you know what? I think she might become a very good friend to both of us.
As Mia ran off to get her art supplies, chattering excitedly about meeting Carlos and showing him her butterfly drawings, David realized that sometimes the best things in life came from the most unexpected places. Not from boardrooms or business deals, but from small diners and kind waitresses who understood that healing happened one gentle moment at a time. The playground was buzzing with children's laughter when David and Mia arrived on Saturday morning. Luna was already there, sitting on a bench with a boy who had to be Carlos. He had the same kind eyes as his mother and was clutching a small sketchbook. Mia hid behind David's legs, suddenly shy. All week she'd been excited about meeting Carlos, but now that the moment was here, her old nervousness came back. "Hey there," Luna called out with a warm smile. "Carlos, this is Mia, the amazing artist I told you about." Carlos looked up from his drawing and waved. "Hi, Mom said you draw butterflies. I drew you one." He held up his sketchbook, showing a colorful butterfly with purple and yellow wings. Mia's eyes widened with delight and she slowly came out from behind David. "That's beautiful," she said softly. "I brought you one too." She pulled out a folded paper from her pocket and handed it to Carlos. When he opened it, his face lit up with excitement. "Wow, look at all the colors. Can you teach me how to make the wings so pretty?" Just like that, the ice was broken. The two children found a spot under a tree and spread out their art supplies, chattering about their favorite colors and drawing techniques. David watched in amazement as Mia came alive in a way he hadn't seen since before Anna died. "She's been looking forward to this all week," David told Luna as they sat on a nearby bench. "Carlos, too. He's been carrying that butterfly drawing around, everywhere, wanting to make sure it was perfect for her." They watched the children draw together, Carlos showing Mia how he drew dinosaur scales, and Mia teaching him her technique for butterfly wings. Soon they were giggling about something Carlos had drawn, and Mia was actually laughing out loud. "Listen to that," Luna said softly. "When was the last time you heard her laugh like that?" David had to think. "I honestly can't remember. It's been so long." Over the next few weeks, these playground meetings became a regular thing. Every Saturday, the four of them would spend the morning together. Sometimes they'd go to the park, sometimes to a children's museum, or just back to the diner where the kids could draw while the adults talked. David found himself looking forward to these Saturdays more than any business meeting or social event. Luna was easy to talk to, sharing stories about her nursing classes and her dreams of working in a children's hospital. She never seemed impressed by his wealth or intimidated by his success. To her, he was just David, Mia's father who was trying his best. One evening, after Luna had finished her shift at the diner, David got a call that changed everything. "Mr. Thompson, this is Children's Hospital. We have your daughter here." David's world stopped. "What happened? Is she okay?" "She was brought in with a high fever and difficulty breathing. We think it might be pneumonia. Can you come right away?" David's hands shook as he drove to the hospital. When he arrived, he found Mia in a small bed, looking so tiny and pale. The babysitter explained that Mia had seemed fine when David left for his dinner meeting, but an hour later she was burning up with fever. The doctors ran tests and confirmed it was pneumonia. They said she'd need to stay in the hospital for a few days. David sat by her bedside, holding her small hand and feeling helpless all over again. Mia was scared and kept asking for Miss Luna. The nurses were kind, but they were strangers, and Mia had always been afraid of hospitals since Anna died. David called Luna without even thinking about it. "I know it's late and you don't owe us anything, but Mia is asking for you. She's scared, and I don't know what to do." Luna didn't hesitate. "I'll be right there." She arrived 20 minutes later, still in her scrubs from nursing school. When Mia saw her, she reached out her arms for a hug. "Miss Luna, I don't feel good." "I know, sweetheart. But you know what? I'm studying to be a nurse, so I know all about making sick kids feel better." Luna sat on the edge of the hospital bed and gently felt Mia's forehead. "The medicine is going to help you breathe easier, but it might make you sleepy. That's okay, because sleeping helps your body get strong again. Will you stay with me?" Mia asked weakly. Luna looked at David, who nodded gratefully. "Of course I will. And you know what we can do while you rest?" We can tell stories about magical butterflies who help little girls get better. For the next 3 days, Luna barely left the hospital. She'd come straight from work or school bringing coloring books and reading stories. She knew exactly how to comfort a sick child, speaking to the doctors about Mia's care and helping her understand what the medical equipment was for. David watched Luna sing lullabies to his daughter, help her eat when she didn't want to, and make her laugh even when she felt terrible. Luna didn't just visit them, she took care of them both. She brought David coffee and made sure he ate something. She talked to the nurses and made sure Mia got the best care possible. On the third night, as Mia finally slept peacefully, David and Luna sat in the quiet hospital room. "Thank you," David said quietly. "I don't know what I would have done without you. You would have figured it out, you always do. Luna, I need to tell you something. These past few months, watching you with Mia, seeing how much you care about her, I've fallen in love with you." Luna was quiet for a long moment. "David, I care about you both so much, but this isn't just about us. It's about Mia and what she needs. I know. And what she needs is you. Not as a replacement for Anna, but as someone new who loves her for who she is." Luna looked over at Mia, sleeping peacefully with her stuffed elephant. "I love her like she's my own daughter. I have from the very beginning." "Then marry me," David said simply. "Not because Mia declared you her mommy in a diner, but because we've built something real together. Because you make both of us better people." Luna turned to look at him, tears in her eyes. "Are you proposing to me in a hospital room?" "I'm proposing to you wherever you are, because that's where I want to be too." 6 months later, they had a small wedding in the garden behind the diner where it all started. Mia was the flower girl and Carlos was the ring bearer. Rosie, the diner owner, catered the reception, and Luna's butterfly drawing from Mia still hung on the wall. When the minister asked if anyone objected to the marriage, Mia spoke up in her clear, confident voice. "I think it's perfect. Now Carlos can be my brother and Miss Luna can be my mommy for real." The whole crowd laughed, and David realized that sometimes the best families aren't the ones you're born into, but the ones you choose to build together. Mia had found her new mommy, not through a dramatic declaration in a diner, but through countless small moments of love, care, and healing. As they danced at their reception, Luna whispered to David, "Thank you for trusting me with your heart and your daughter." "Thank you for teaching us both how to love again," he whispered back. And watching Mia and Carlos chase butterflies in the garden, David knew that sometimes the most beautiful endings come from the most unexpected beginnings.